Most Americans still picture honey the same way they did decades ago, a quiet little farm somewhere in the countryside, wooden hives sitting under the sun, a local beekeeper collecting fresh honey by hand while bees move slowly through wildflowers nearby. That image feels comforting, simple, natural, American. And honestly, grocery stores still work very hard to sell us that exact feeling. Walk through the honey aisle today and you'll see warm golden labels, rustic fonts, little drawings of bees, farms, flowers, wooden fences, old barns. Everything about the packaging whispers the same message. This came from somewhere peaceful. But what if the honey sitting in your kitchen traveled farther than you ever have? Because today, we're talking about the surprising reality behind grocery store honey in America and why so many consumers are shocked when they discover where some of it actually comes from. And by the end of this video, you may never look at those little honey bottles the same way again. If you enjoy videos exposing the hidden stories behind everyday products, make sure to subscribe, because once you start noticing this stuff, you begin seeing it absolutely everywhere. Walking into an American grocery store can feel strangely nostalgic sometimes. You see products that look homemade, old-fashioned, traditional. Honey is one of the strongest examples of that. People don't usually think of honey as an industrial product. It feels ancient, almost timeless. Bees make honey. Humans put it into jars. How complicated could it really be? Apparently, very complicated. Because modern food production is global now, and honey is no exception. Most shoppers never stop to think about where grocery store honey actually comes from. They see the front label and immediately imagine small farms, American fields, local beekeepers, and fresh honey collected nearby. But there's one tiny detail many consumers completely miss. Packed in USA does not always mean produced in USA, and that small difference changes the entire conversation. Because some honey products sold in American grocery stores may contain imported honey or international honey blends before ever reaching store shelves. Countries like India, Vietnam, Argentina, and Brazil now play massive roles in the global honey industry. And for many Americans, that realization feels genuinely strange. Not necessarily because imported honey is automatically bad, but because it completely clashes with the image the packaging created in their minds. That emotional disconnect is what makes this topic so fascinating. The label sells one story, the supply chain tells another. One of the biggest surprises for many shoppers is Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's built an entire reputation around feeling different from giant corporate supermarkets. The stores feel cozy, relaxed, organic. The products feel curated and personal. So naturally, many customers assume the honey must also come from small American farms. But depending on the product and sourcing, some Trader Joe's honey products may involve imported honey or international supply chains. And for a lot of shoppers, that discovery feels almost weirdly personal because Trader Joe's doesn't feel global. It feels local. That's how powerful branding can be. People don't just buy products anymore, they buy feelings. They buy nostalgia, comfort, trust. And honey might be one of the best examples of that in the entire grocery store. Now, to be fair, not every honey company completely moved away from American sourcing. Some brands still maintain stronger ties to U.S. beekeepers and domestic honey production. And these are probably the three names most associated with American-made honey today. The first is Sue Bee. For older Americans especially, Sue Bee feels deeply familiar. It's the kind of brand people remember seeing in kitchen cabinets growing up. Next to toast, tea, biscuits, peanut butter sandwiches. For generations, the company built its reputation around relationships with American beekeeper cooperatives. And compared to many modern grocery brands, that older connection to domestic honey production still matters to a lot of consumers today, especially people who miss when food felt simpler and closer to home. The second major name is Dutch Gold. Based in Pennsylvania, Dutch Gold became strongly associated with traditional American honey processing and beekeeping culture. The company has been around for generations, and many consumers still see it as one of the more trustworthy old-school honey brands. Again, like most modern companies, parts of global sourcing can still exist in the industry. But the brand identity itself remains heavily connected to American honey production. And emotionally, that distinction matters to people. Then there's Nature Nates. This brand exploded in popularity because it perfectly captured the modern, healthy American pantry aesthetic. Clean labels, golden honey, simple packaging, words like pure and traceable. Nature Nates understood something important. Modern consumers are becoming deeply skeptical of giant industrial food systems. People want transparency now. They want to know where food came from, who produced it, how far it traveled, and what actually happened to it before it landed on store shelves. Because once consumers realize honey may travel across oceans, through factories, shipping routes, industrial filtering systems, and massive distribution centers before arriving at the grocery store, they start questioning everything else too. Olive oil, shrimp, garlic, tomato, frozen fish, apple juice. Suddenly, people begin noticing how many products look local while quietly operating inside enormous global supply chains. And honestly, that realization can feel a little unsettling, especially for older generations who remember when food felt more regional and personal. Maybe things weren't perfect back then either, but the experience felt different. Now, almost everything feels industrialized, mass produced, disconnected. That's why topics like this explode online. Because deep down, this conversation isn't really just about honey, it's about trust. It's about the feeling that modern products no longer match the image being sold to consumers. Ironically, this entire trend created a huge comeback for local farmers markets and small beekeepers. More Americans are actively searching for raw honey, single origin honey, and small independent farms. People want connection again, not just with food, but with the idea that something real still exists behind the label. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Because modern grocery stores are designed to feel warm and personal, even when the reality behind the scenes is massive, global, and industrial. Now, to be clear, imported honey is not automatically bad. There are hardworking producers all over the world. But the bigger realization is this: the image we buy and the reality behind the product are often two completely different things. And once you notice that with honey, you start noticing it everywhere. So next time you grab a bottle of honey at the grocery store, maybe pause for a second and read the label a little more carefully. Because the story behind that bottle may be very different from the one the front packaging is trying to tell you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what product we should investigate next. And until next time, take care.